What's going on, guys? So today I'm just going to do a talking head video and going to give you my full thoughts of this channel and everything that's been going on right now and what I'm seeing. And as long as it doesn't come out too rambly, then I'm just going to go ahead and upload it. So let's just start off with this, okay? Where the conversation of eBay right now, right? I just want to come out and say that I wholeheartedly disagree with all of the resellers right now, right? The whole business model of it doesn't really make sense. I've already made a couple of videos on it. I'm sure you've already seen that. And I'm just going to jump into a couple of things that I know you guys have asked a lot of questions on, all right? So just skipping along to the chase, right? There's going to be a lot of just, spoilers in this that I'm just going to tell you guys the answer right away. Number one, I recommend you go to trade shows in order to do your direct sourcing. Now, there's going to be a lot of people who said a lot of things about, you could go to trade shows, you could use indexes, you could go to Alibaba and stuff like that. I will get into why and how to use each and every single one of them and why I fully recommend trade shows above everything else. All right. So let's just get into that right now. The trade show is where you need to go because of one reason and one reason only. All right. When people are at the trade shows, that's the human connection that's there, that's completely missing when you're trying to do business in any other way. You see, at a trade show, the right people are already there who are representing the factories, the companies. Right? They're the people that you're supposed to be talking to. And many times, more often than not, you're going to have the owner of the factory there. So who better to quote you a price than the actual owner of the factory? You see what I'm saying? So when you go to these places, it's the perfect time for chit chat. They are there. They spent the money to shoot the breeze. They brought samples with them for you to play around with. Your first day at the convention should be about collecting as much literature as possible. That's what actual sourcing is. I don't know what this weird thrift shopping or whatever. I know I come off a little bit, angry. It's not that I'm angry. It's that I'm very passionate about helping people in the right direction, because I went through the comments and I'm seeing too many stories of people who fell victim to this. They're in a bad place and they've been doing it for 6 months to 3 years because they're constantly fed this hope. The business model is broken, my friends. I promise you the business model is broken. I will get into all the reasons why. This will intentionally be a long video. I'm going to go on as much as I can, and then I'll make more videos to refine each one and reiterate each one so that they're more digestible for people. But I know right now, all of you who are my newest subscribers, you just want, answers as quickly as possible, right? So I'm just going to give it to you as best as I can, and then we'll move on from there, and then I'll do better videos, okay? So going to the trade shows is what allows you to talk to people and then play with the items and then, customize and get a realistic feedback back and forth with the right people of what you can and cannot do. Right? Because you need to know things like the minimum order quantity, and you need to know what their quoting price is. You need to shop around to compare between like other factories and stuff. Many times there are going to be new booths there who are competing for business, and they'll do price matching, right? So when you go there and you're going to meet all these people, you get to interact with a lot of things. Doing things like Alibaba, Alibaba, don't use it like that, okay? The way you use Alibaba is the best way. The way I use it is like this. I have already built many contacts in China over the years. So I have a lot of agents under my belt. And what I do with Alibaba, the first thing that I do is I use it to just roughly shop for something. And the reason why I do it is because, let's say I just have an idea and I want to see if Alibaba has it already. And the best thing that I could do is go on this website, find a factory that I like working with, and then I take that link and I hand it over to my agent. I'm not going to deal with Alibaba because there's a lot of shysters on that website, believe it or not. Granted, they do have a third-party escrow type system that makes sure that, okay, when both parties are happy, then the funds will be released, etc., etc. But that's not how they always screw you on this. It's because of about making the right connections and buying experience. When you want to get into factory direct sourcing, you're going to buy an item in bulk. And when you do that, you have to go through a lot of confirm samples back and forth. You don't want to just willy-nilly flip through a catalog and I'm going to pick that one and I'm just going to start doing it. What do you know about this item? What do you know about this industry? And this brings me to my point of why I did all these classes on how to discover your unicorn item. It's so important that you have a unicorn item. It sounds so corny when I say it. I'm aware of that. But what I mean by the unicorn item is this. You cannot do an item you don't know squat about. So for all of you who are scrolling through and, what's the hot items of the season, what category and whatever, there is a toxic relationship that's happening right now on eBay. And I'm not afraid to say it because the relationship is like this. There's a demographic of people who really, really are looking for a leg up, right? So they're willing to listen to these gurus say, hey, this category is hot, this item is hot, etc., etc. And at the same time, these gurus, they make these videos about the 10 hottest categories, 20 hottest, the 30 hottest categories. Let me ask you a question. Why wouldn't that category exist if somebody isn't already doing it and being lucrative on it? The difference is this. If you're not a car guy, if you're not a gearhead, if you're not, into automotives, if you're not a hobbyist, what are you doing on eBay Motors? You don't know nothing about it. So how do you know what the going market prices are and what's what? The next thing would be any other category on top of this, home and gardening, kitchenware. If you don't know nothing about nothing on it, then why are you doing this thing? You will get yourself into a world of trouble. That's why I will never, ever, ever recommend this category, this item, that. No, I'm always going to recommend the thought process. I'm going to show you a couple of items, a marketplace, and I'm going to show you why he was successful, so that you could apply it to your own real world studies. You see what I'm saying? Because this way you could see where the opportunity is. If you're unable to see the opportunity, there is another method out, which is a blind shooting type method, which is you go to a manufacturer, right? And then you see what they're selling. And then you personally do your best to select a couple of items and then try them all out and then see what happens. That is considering if you have the savings, if you have the capital to start off and do this. You could go there and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try, 6 to 10 items off your catalog already made. I'm just going to go ahead and white label it. See, my thoughts are all over the place right now because there's so much to talk about. What I just said is white labeling versus private labeling. Two completely different things. Private labeling is when you go to a factory and you say, hey, I want to make some webcams. I like the webcam that you do, but I also want it to be, something in FPS. I want it to come in pink and white and Tiffany blue colors. I want to add my QR code. I want to bundle third parties. Like you customized it in some way and then you slapped your label on it. That's private label. That's all me, right? To the point where it's different to where I could even arguably have design patents on it. I could arguably even have utility patents on it if what I changed up is so significant that it would pass for a utility patent. You see what I'm saying? A white label is when you go and you find existing factories and then you just slap your brand on top of it. It's already an existing item that they're doing because you don't have any creativity to add to the item. You just want to try it out. So when it's an existing item, then many times you could purchase very small purchase orders, right? Yeah, they'll probably sell you anywhere between like 50 to 200 pieces or something, because it's such a small quantity order that they probably already have in their warehouse. And all they really have to do for you is just reprint some boxes with your label on it, and then boom, there you go. Go ahead and try it out. I recommend that you don't do this because they are existing items. I will never ever recommend and say this item's hot, that item's hot. That's not how it works. It works more like this. This company is successful selling this item. Here's the reason why. It's not that the item's hot. It's that this company is able to do it because they understand this item. See, when you go ahead, I'm going to do a couple of case studies, right? I found this one big YouTuber. He's got like, I think it's like 6 million subscribers or something. And I'm going to criticize him very hard on this. He did an item where he failed. And I'm going to do a whole video explaining exactly why he failed so that you understand the science of this, right? And essentially the gist of it is that he released an item to his liking. It's just what he likes. But he never bothered to do a certain market research beyond just what he likes. He did an item where it added no value to the marketplace. When an item adds no value to the marketplace, you will get the same feedback all around the board. This is an objective feeling, not a subjective feeling. It's objective, and that makes it definitively dangerous. So what ended up happening is that the biggest reviewer of the product that he does tanked him. And he released a video saying one thing, and it was completely fair what he said. He said, yeah, I see what they made, but you could totally buy a better item for less money. You're ruined if somebody says that about you. And just like when I did the case study about Mount Dog, I'll try to leave a link in the description for the Mount Dog case study. That's what Mount Dog did. See, everybody's selling lights everywhere. And then he thought to himself, well, what kind of, value could I add to the conversation? You don't jump into a conversation you know nothing about, right? You see a couple of kids talking about skateboards. You don't just walk up to them, you don't even know them, and willy-nilly just like, hey, what's up, dudes? And, put on your best Keanu Reeves voice and you just start talking about skateboard when you know nothing about skating. We don't do that. And that's exactly what these gurus are urging you to do. Skateboards are really rad, man. You should really get into skateboards. And your hopes are up. So then you get into this, and now you're in a stockpile of things that you can't get rid of. Don't do that to yourself. It would be far better if, let's say, you only had an interest in skateboards. Then I would urge you, save up your money, spend that time to constantly learn more and more about skating, right? It doesn't have to be about skating. It could be anything. It could be about toasters. It could be about a rice cooker for all I care. The point is, you have to know this stuff inside and out. And the reason for that is that that's the only way you don't end up trying to put an item on the market that doesn't add any value. Because that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to get destroyed in the reviews. People are going to say, you could get this product for less money and more features. So what are you doing? You just threw away your money doing this. You're absolutely going to get stuck with this item. When I talk about how my method is a lot less risk, it works like this. Because you did significant market research, and significant market research means that you spent a lot of time looking at reviews, looking at pros and cons, figuring out exactly from a customer's perspective, what is a deal breaker and what is a deal maker? Or even getting to the point where you are a serious shopper yourself. Like, you would love to have one yourself. If you're a gearhead somehow, right? And you're a mechanic or something, this is absolutely an item that you would buy. Or you know exactly the stuff that you want. But you're torn between product A and product B, and you have said things to yourself, wouldn't it be wonderful if you could take the best of both worlds and then make product C? I bet that would fly. I bet that would fly too. You should definitely do something like that. And if you could bring it in for a price that is acceptable for the market, you just got your ticket with the big dogs. That's exactly what's going to happen. When we talk about like doing sales and stuff, if I had to just randomly put a number, it definitely depends on the item and how much profit it makes. But let's just say your average $40, $50 item or something, okay? I would say this. If your item, after all your research and well-documented photos and pristine, SEO, everything on your listings, okay? If it's doing 10 sales a day, that's great. Give it time. Let's see what we could do to roll it up to 20 sales a day, into 30, 35 sales a day. Once it gets up to around 30, 35 sales a day, just on a single platform like eBay, I would say, yeah, you're probably optimized as far as you're capable of doing so at your current level. And that's really, really good. If the item is making something like 5 sales a day, you might think to yourself, maybe I should lower the price so that I could do around 7 or 8 sales a day and discontinue this item and get my money back. You see how that's so much safer than accumulating a death pile, just allowing a pile of inventory to just grow and grow, whether it's because you didn't list it yet or you're unable to get rid of it. Either way, your money's not coming back to you. But if you do an item that, okay, it's just performing not so great, I could close out that item at cost, get my money back, and then put that same token into another machine, and then we try it again. Like, we could rinse and repeat this process so that we maintain the winners and we slowly phase out the losers. But the reason why this method of doing business is a lot safer is because you can phase out stuff for sure. While right now, reselling, if I had to be brutally honest, right? When you are shopping at TJ Maxx, ED's Discount, Marshalls, you are shopping at a junkyard because these are closeout items by the original retailers that couldn't finish it. It's exactly what I was just saying about phasing out an item, right? Okay, it didn't do so good, so maybe I could find a liquidator, maybe I could, pass it off to someone else. And you guys are buying that stuff and trying to find gems within the mountain of that stuff. How difficult is that? Versus now you compare it to something like a Goodwill or what was it called? Salvation Army. You just went from junkyard to scrapyard because a lot of those things are donated over there. The only people who are able to maintain a facility to constantly run that store is actually Goodwill because they got everything for free. You're not getting this stuff for free. So people always keep showing off the sales that they made. But what happened to the whole pile? The whole pile is in the video right behind them. And I truly worry about this situation because it's not the way to do business. That's not how it works. When we do business, okay, there is basically 3 people involved, and it's all going to be you. There is the entrepreneur, the business owner. You're the businessman. And then there's the manager, and then there's the technician. All right. So let's say we opened a pizzeria, right? So we're making pizzas. The technician is the person who makes the pies, but you probably also need a technician to chop up all the ingredients and prep for the day. You probably also need a technician, or possibly the same guy, to make all the dough the night before so they rise up for ready to use the next day. Somebody's got to make all the sauce, right? Somebody's got to, and okay. So you get the point of that. So now you need the part of the manager. The manager does what? He orders all the supplies. He pays all the bills. He keeps the lights on. He helps to execute all the systems in place so that the shop can run smoothly. The business owner is the person who does what? Comes up with the idea that, you know what, there's a burger shop, there's a bakery, there's this, there's that, but there's no pizzeria here. We should do a pizzeria. That is the job of the business owner, to provide vision and goals of where we're going to go. And then he has to start projecting, okay, we need how much money in order to expand the pizzeria? We need how much money to open up a second shop? We need how much money to start making our own frozen pizzas, to go into supermarkets, things like that. That's what the business owner is supposed to be doing, right? So the business owner lives in the future because he's always projecting, like, okay, we're going to go this way, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. The manager is always in the past because he's cleaning up after everybody else's mess, right? For example, when a Karen comes in and she says, I want to speak to your manager, that's always after the fact that everything has happened. The sale has happened, the mess has happened, the accident has already happened, and then the manager comes in to help that out. When you pay the bills, when you pay the electricity bill, the gas bill, that's after, you guys have already ran the business, and then he comes in and he has to sweep up. The technician lives in the present, constantly in the present, because he has to make those pizzas and he has to make it pristine. Your mind really can't be anywhere else because I gotta stretch the dough, right? I gotta do this, I gotta do that. So when we come back and we try to apply this directly to the eBay reseller model, you are incredibly stretched thin between the technician, between the manager role, and you barely get to wear the entrepreneur cap. Let me explain. So when you are the technician, what are we doing in reselling? Well, we got to go out sourcing. So you're the shopper, right? You're the buyer. And then you got to bring it back. So you're the driver. And then you have to, I don't know, wash it, clean it, fix it, like whatever. If you're doing that vintage clothing stuff, if you're doing some other kind of used item or whatever, you have to, inspect for where the scratches are, the minor things, so that you could label it, mint, near mint, good, bad, like whatever condition, right? So now you're in processing, and then somebody has to do the cataloging. So that's basically, laying it out on the table, taking the photo. So you're the photographer as well. After you do this, then you have to weigh the item, and then you have to list the item. So you're doing the listing as well, right? So the listing part is essentially the marketing part. So you're marketing, you're shipping, you're in photography, you're doing all these things. And then on top of this, you still have to wear the manager role, which is basically creating the guidelines to make this whole system work. The entrepreneur part of you was what? That initially made the decision that I'm going to get into the reselling business. But you're totally bogged down between being all the technicians, right, and the manager, and you hardly ever get to be the entrepreneur. So think of it like this. The entrepreneur is like the captain of the ship, right? He's going to give out the initial commands, and then the manager is the commanding officer, right? He's the executing officer, like the XO of a submarine. He says, okay, so do this, do this, do this to try to make it happen. And then the rest of the crew is the technicians. So when you're starting off on the small business, the whole business model, you listen to guru after guru of videos, and they're explaining to you, you got to do this, you got to do this. How thinly are you spread? Very, very lucky are the people who are reselling, who are doing it as a couple, because at least there's two of you. But still, as a small company, and you have to do all these things and put out all these listings just to sell everything once, guys, I promise you, this business model does not work. The reverse of what I'm saying. Because if you get into direct factory sourcing, what are you really doing, essentially? You're doing all the homework in the beginning. So I'm going to eventually make a video suggesting exactly what the guidelines, some mental checklist for when you deal with your factory. Okay, it's got to be a lot of things involved. Okay, check. It's really important that we do these things. So some of the things is that after you confirmed your sample back and forth, like they mailed it to you, you checked it out, and then you're like, okay, the color is still not really right. This is not sewn properly. I don't like the molding on, all these adjustments. After your adjustments are made, your item should be pre-packed and ready to go. So I'm not packing stuff every single day. As far as sourcing, we already sourced this product months ahead. As far as being the driver, going out to buy stuff and back and forth, no, all this stuff is going to be delivered to my front door or my warehouse. I don't do that. So I don't do the constant buying. I'm not the driver, right? Now, when it comes to photography and getting stuff done, either you're buying a reasonable quantity or you're buying an existing product and the factory already has beautiful photos, stock photos for you to use that you could use as your studio photos. Or you just go ahead and you hit up somebody on Fiverr and then you say, hey, I got this new product. I'm going to mail some samples over to you guys. And then they're going to do some lifestyle shots. They're going to do some studio shots. And then you guys go back and forth and keep revising this thing until you're satisfied and say, you know what? Those are beautiful photos. It's going to make me want to buy it too. That's when you're happy with something. Now, you go ahead and you create your listing for it. Now, this listing, it's not going to be like your reseller lifestyle where, oh my God, I just brought back 50 items from the thrift shop. I got to list all these things. I got to go through them. I got to make dinner. I got to put my daughter to bed. I got to go to sleep and then do this all over again tomorrow. There's no way you're creating a quality listing. Versus if you factory direct source an item, what can you do? Just go ahead and put the item up right now. Work on it again later. Work on it again tomorrow and the day after and the day after. You can work on it for the whole damn week because it's worth it. That's the one item that I have. So I get to refine it over and over again, and it's going to be a majestic listing. You're going to be able to spend all the time that the listing deserves so that you could, research all the keywords and stuff, do your, AI studies where you have, your description and stuff with AI looking over it for you. And you could check all your click-through rate. You could do a lot of things. You could spend the time on it and nurture the listing for what it's supposed to be. And that way, this listing, and then you list it at quantity, 500 pieces, whatever that you purchase, it's going to roll. It's just going to keep rolling. Now, what's your daily job? What's your daily life even look like? Well, it's going to look like this. You wake up in the morning, and then you check your emails. You're checking your emails for a couple of customer service questions, possible address changes, color changes, possible cancellation of orders, possible returns of other things. Just whatever. Get your email out of the way first. If your listing, which you spent a lot of time on, is properly done, it's not going to have a lot of questions. So if you're doing 250 listings, 2,000 listings, all quickly, because I got to bang them out. You're going to be swamped with questions, right? And things that you overlooked and stuff. I even see a lot of videos where even the gurus themselves explain, it was an accident. So I spelled it wrong, or I meant to list it for $24.99. It came out to $2,499. And that's why I didn't move. These are all time wasted for you. But if you're just doing one item first or two items first, you have that time. It is literally like having kids when you think about it. It is literally like having kids, right? I got one kid to take care of. I got two kids to take care of. I'm already stretched pretty thin. Imagine adopting 50 children every day. That's what it's like. There's no way you're going to be spread so thin in the beginning because it's in the infant stages of the business. You don't have the revenues to hire people just now, right? You're going to be in the hole immediately if you do that. So you have to do everything yourself. But the problem is being too busy is not a reason to not be the captain of your ship. So the manager part of you, the technician part of you is still looking towards you for the guidance. What are we going to do, Cap? Where are we going? What happens after? What are the milestones? What are the goals? You don't have time to do this because the pizza pies are burning. Okay, so now let's come back again. I hope I haven't rambled all over the place too much. I'm doing my best here. I will, again, do better videos on this and more organized stuff. But I just really wanted to, you guys have so many questions and I just want to answer them as much as I can in this one video right now. So you got to go over to the trade shows, okay? And when you go to the trade shows, wear some comfortable shoes, right? Bring some snacks with you. You're going to spend a lot of time there. I'm going to break it down to 3 days for you guys, okay? Because essentially every single trade show that you go to is generally about like a 3-day exhibit. Some of them are longer, very few of them are shorter, but generally all of them are 3-day exhibits. Day 1, because you're a newbie there, your job is to collect everything that's free. If they're giving it away, take it. Bring a wagon. I recommend anything with wheels. That's really smart, all right? Or bring a large tote. If you're strong, you and your spouse both bring a tote, something. Collect all the catalogs and the literature and the brochures and the little free samples or whatever that you could get your hands on. Bring a camera with you. Take photos, all right? And then after that, immediately go to dinner and go back to the hotel. You will thank me for this. Go to dinner, go back to the hotel. More oftentimes than not, the trade exhibit show that you're going to is a fabulous tourist place, like San Francisco, like Chicago, like Las Vegas, especially Las Vegas. You're going to be tempted to, I'm going to see some sites, play some games. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're here for business. Take this very seriously because you need to go to dinner and soak your feet immediately for all the walking you're going to be doing. It is that bad. All conventions are freaking huge. You're going to be there from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. nonstop walking. It is a marathon, all right? So your first day, collect everything, all right? Eat, go home, soak your feet, pull out the catalogs, and whoever you brought your team with, all right? Yeah, whether it's your spouse or more family members or a friend or a partner or anything, okay? Review the catalog. Discuss it amongst each other. What do you guys think? Because what you want to do is that you want to revisit the booths that you have the most interest about. Again, like I said, if you have no idea the items that you want to do, you should still go to the trade shows because that's what actual sourcing is. Now you're sourcing like a big boy, okay? You're not going to a thrift store and looking for one-off items. You're going to a place and collecting all of these catalogs, and that is your power. See, that's what makes you different than other people. I bought the plane ticket. I got on the bus. I went to the trade show. I met with those people. I collected those catalogs under me. I have the references to stuff. I have the free samples in my hands. That's real sourcing that other people can't do. When you come onto YouTube and you watch a video, these are the top 10 categories. These are the 5 hottest items, the 15 hottest items. So nobody else watched that video. It's too accessible. The hump is too easy. If it's too easy, then the floodgates open. Everybody's doing it. This is why, again, I keep reiterating this. I will never, ever, ever recommend to you any hot category or any hot item because it is a lie, my friends. Trust me, this is a lie. To recommend like these are the top, like categories, they exist, don't they? That's why they are there, because somebody's already doing this. You got to believe that at the infant stages of eBay, they had less categories, and then there's more categories now because things develop, and there are a lot of people who are doing this to the point where eBay says, okay, I'm going to dedicate a category for you. If you know anything about eBay, every single category on eBay is final value feed calculated differently. Why bother doing that? Because they're different industries. So to recommend one industry over another has nothing to do with the industry. I'm so sorry, I got to go into this side detail real quick, right? You guys ever watch Shark Tank? With the most hysterical gaslighty thing I've ever heard people say, and they do it all the time, is when they start off, right, with, let's say we're talking about bicycles or something, right? And he wants to sell either bike seats or bike locks, or just something to do with bicycles. And he says, the bicycle industry is a $40 billion a year. What's that got to do with you? What's that got to do with whether or not you're about to pitch me a good idea? People love to say how big the industry and stuff is. But the truth is, wouldn't you rather be in a $2 billion industry making, $10 million a year than to be the small, it's like, okay, it's a $400 billion a year industry, but what are you making? 40,000, 50,000? What would you rather be? At the end of the day, your personal result is what's most important, not what other opinions of this industry, that item, or whatever. That's not how to do things, okay? I keep coming back and saying it because only when you know your industry, you know your topic, you know your category, you're going to be able to develop an item that adds value to the marketplace. When I come back and I reiterate about the Mount Dog case study, that's exactly what he did. Everybody was selling lights. He sold the same light. He changed one thing. He made his light adjustable, and he added a remote control to it. It went crazy. And it went crazy because of this. Rather than what I said early on, where there was a guy who just did an item that he personally liked. It was like a subjective thing. And he put it into the market, and his bad review was, wow, this thing, you could buy a better one for less money. Right. It was night and day. The review was what for the Mount Dog? This is the best $50 item. This is the best item under $50 that you could buy. I heavily recommend this one because this is the only one that has adjustable lights. Bam, the guy blew up. His Amazon listing, right? It was like 2,000 reviews. You know how many people leave a review versus a purchase? It's exponential, right? In my early stages of eBay, when I used to do something like 1,000 sales per month, I only get somewhere around 275 to 300 feedbacks, meaning less than a third of people leave me a feedback. And that's just on eBay. Because every single platform, their architecture is different. So it's just like how it's really easy to leave a thumbs up or a like or a comment on one platform versus another platform. It depends how the platform is set up, the convenience of it. So the easier it is to leave a comment, the more likely people are going to leave comments. You see what I'm saying? So every platform is going to be different on that. So let me come back to talking about the trade shows. So I'm so sorry I jumped off. Day two. Day two is you going up to every single trade show booth that you were personally very interested in and talking to them and just saying, hey, I like this and what else you got, and just getting into more and more details with them. And don't be afraid to speak, right? Because like I said before, that's why they are there. They took out the time. They flew out here. They spent money on this, and they'll take you seriously because you spent money on this. You flew out too. So for those of you who are interested in getting into any kind of trade show whatsoever, obviously what you need to do is just go ahead and Google what is the trade show that is, relating to my category. So if you're into home goods and stuff, I believe there's a Chicago one. If you are a gearhead like I am, then you would go to SEMA Double Apex in Las Vegas. It's every November. Actually, it's actually pretty much the same week as election day, actually, but it's every single year. Now, I'm going to get even further into about the trade shows later on. There's so much more to know about it. But other than this, so you discuss with them. And here's a really hot pro tip, okay? When these guys show up from other countries, most likely they either mailed their samples over to these booths or they lugged them in luggages and they brought them over. All right. And more oftentimes than not, if they can feel that you are a very serious prospect, on day 3, which is the last day, you could swing by their booth at the end of the day and they're very happy to give you free samples or sell it to you very, very cheap. So if it's like camera equipment, lenses, that's very expensive. You know what I mean? But if you could deal with them and then they're like, you know what, I like you, I'm going to deal, they'll sell you a lens for like a $500 lens for like $100. You know what I mean? Like something super duper at cost just for the good relationship. So that's something to really consider. So on day 2 is when you start to make relationships, make friends, talk to people, smile, be likable. It's very important that you are presentable because that's what everybody else is. Everybody else is very presentable there and they're just trying to be, because at the end of the day, many times you might want to work with this factory over that factory because you just don't like that guy and they feel the same way. They might want to work with you, they might want to be supportive of you, and they might not just because they don't like you. So being likable is shockingly very important. So on day 3 is, again, the night of day 2, you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to go to dinner and then you're going to go home and soak your feet because, trust me, you're going to be tired. It's going to feel like you went skiing. You know what I mean? If any of you have been skiing in your 30s, you're pretty sore the next day. So on day 3, obviously, is to go back to any of the people that you are really feeling, right? That you really, really think that we're going to make a good relationship. I'm really going to go with these guys and stuff. And then we talk about maybe getting our hands on some samples and whatnot so that you could really move forward with your first purchase order. I will make more videos on exactly how to deal with these factories, the sneaky stuff, and the back and forth. Real quick, I just want to say that outside of all my business and whatever, I'm a big fan of poker, and the reason why is because poker is a very I know that you know that you know that I know type of game, and that applies to business very much. So in my future videos, I will have a couple of poker references. I hope you guys relate to that, because there's many times where we're putting on the poker face at the business table, and there's going to be times where the manufacturer is going to say something, and then you say something. So it's going to be like a whole like how much you want, how much you got, how much you need, how much you have, kind of feeling, right? So, yeah. That's how much I want to cover for now. I will also get into more on the technical side of eBay. There is a lot of advice out there currently on eBay on how to optimize listings and doing this and doing that. And I just want to give you a little cliffhanger, which is the fact that I firmly disagree with all of them. Okay? And I will show you how I have done eBay listings and the sales and all the technical other stuff of what to do on the website site, right? So first, let's just talk more about saving up money, because saving up money is so important. That is your buying potential. If you just buy just these one-off items, you're going to squander all of it. It would be so much better if you could just collect all that energy, because that's what it is. The money is freedom, it's energy, it's power. They're credits towards something. You collect all that first, do your best to whittle down whatever inventory pile that you have, right? So that when the time comes for you, that you have this well-researched item, you've talked about this with your family, your friends, you really deep dived this thing. You went to every single other reviewer and then see what they had to say. And because you've become such an expert guru on this topic yourself, you have a very, very strong feeling that if I gave out free samples to a lot of these YouTube reviewers in this industry about my item, I'm sure they're going to have positive things to say. And I'll tell you what, they can even be groomed to a certain extent. For example, I personally have developed quite a few items that I've sent out to reviewers on YouTube for other industries. And in it, I've always included a cheat sheet where I told them all the pros of the item in case they overlook it. Because when these YouTubers are creating content, they're always looking for content to create. No matter how big the channel is, they want to say stuff like, these are the best high-end items. These are the best bang for the buck items. These are the best items under $100. These are the best items under $50. And that's how Mount Dog got their way to the top. See what I'm saying? So what I did is that I would create a sheet, and obviously I'm going to give them, freedom with their journalism. You say whatever you want to say, but I'm just going to say, hey, these are what the pros that I think it was and why I designed it the way it is. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, they use everything that I give them to give a glowing review, because at the end of the day, the truth is, most reviewers, they feel really bad giving bad reviews. They want to give a glowing review. You know why? Because they want to review a legitimately good item so that they can feel, in their conscience, right? They could be clean in their conscience that I'm offering a genuinely good item to my audience, and that is just going to come back as more praise for me, and people are going to be like, hey, that item helped me out so much, thank you. Like, it's a win for everybody. And that is the mindset that I want you guys to be a part of. I want you guys to eventually become a developer of an item that you have expertise in a field of, and you get rich off of that. Not working yourself to the bone, putting in more hours. Because if you watch a lot of these guru videos, every single one just tells you that you have to work faster, harder, more. You just got to work faster, harder, more. They just keep repeating this over and over again. I'm going to do a video the day in the life of, okay? And I'm just going to explain to you like what it is I do. I think more or less you could just imagine it in your mind, because imagine having a pile of goods, 500 pieces, 5,000 pieces, just sitting there. And then you just have to make one really good listing to the point where you could hire freelancers for professional photos just for this one item because you have so many of it. And once you have this well-oiled machine of a listing, it's just going to be rinse and repeat constantly. So every day it's going to bang out 10 listings for you, 20 listings. If you have a system set up that will spam 20 orders for you every single day, that's not your baby. That's not, something that you're genuinely going to be in love with. And plus it's your own creation. The key to expanding and growth is what? Picking a fine horse. That's really what it is. That's why I keep on saying like this unicorn model. So once you've studied horses in your field, figuratively speaking, then you know how to pick out, okay, that's going to be a good horse. I'm getting that one. And the horse that wasn't so good, it's okay. We could sell them off for glue. I know this is a terrible analogy, but the point is that we could get our money back until we collect a whole stable of fine horses, right? So now you have 5 items that are consistently banging out 20 orders for you. That's 100 orders every single day. And how many listings did you create? At a minimum of 5 listings, and then maybe a few more based on how many SKUs it comes in, if it comes in different sizes or colors. But it's not 25,000 listings. You're able to do way more business with far less work. That's what I'm talking about. Because business is about developing systems. Systems are made from developing guidelines, and guidelines come from practice. So once you understand this whole way to scale up, you're not going to fail at this business. Business fails in 2 ways. Either number 1, the business model was no good, or number 2, you just not really sure what you're just feeling out more than anything else, So guys, I went on for a long time. I'm so sorry about that. But guys, subscribe to this channel, please. I will help you out every single step of the way. We're going to get more answers to a lot of things, okay? So I'll see you in the next one. Take care.